Hey, I'm Rachel, the CEO of Intrinio, and this is not going to be a popular video. I am about to ruffle some feathers. I'll start by saying that what I'm about to cover is an opinion and it's a theory. A strong one, but a theory nonetheless. My theory is that the more attention we draw to the marginalization of women in finance and tech, the more harm we do. Rather, we can choose to normalize women in these fields for their benefit. It's important to differentiate this concept from issues such as sexual harassment or the gender pay gap. Those are issues which we mustn't ignore and we must be vocal about. But what I'm talking about is the general marginalization and undervaluing of women in tech and fintech. Dr. Wolfensberger popularized this concept called the normalization principle, and it's a theme I'm going to leverage in this argument. Now, stay with me as I walk through this one. His book, The Principle of Normalization in Human Services, highlighted the Scandinavian use of normalization for the mentally and physically handicapped. Scandinavia led a movement to treat the handicapped to a lifestyle that resembles mainstream society, to just treat them like normal people. Later, his work extended the theory to encompass any group of people sociologically identified as deviant or devalued by their society. His research resulted in astoundingly positive outcomes and results for these groups of people when they were treated normally, integrated into society, and allowed to carry on without any special labels or recognition. They thrived. Drawing the comparison between the groups studied by Dr. Wolfensberger and women in tech may seem far-fetched, but I think it's fair to say that historically and even today, women tend to be undervalued. Now, this concept of normalization can also have negative effects. For example, recreational drug use, teen violence, and unrealistic beauty standards have become norms. Normalization is powerful, but what if we use it for good? Researchers from Kingston Business School did with an article titled Social Normalization, using marketing to make green normal. Can't we do this for women? History has shown that more often than not, it takes one person to behave as if something is normal and society falls in line. This theory can extend in a positive manner to the normalization of women in fintech. If you agree or are interested in my theory, below are several small ways in which you can make a significant impact. First, if you're a person who puts on conferences or events, if you are tempted to host a panel about women in finance, don't. Just put women on a panel about finance. This shows young women that they belong in the industry, not that they'll be entering a field in which they're put into a separate category. When we categorize these events or panels as female, we run the risk of marginalizing ourselves even further. We imply that women need extra help or special categorization. We also draw into question their merit and competency. Make it the norm at your events to include women with subtlety. You'll have the chance to change the perspective of a young girl who may be watching and hoping to see a scenario where she can just fit in. She should be worrying about excelling in school, not how she'll need to fit in as a woman one day. Next, if you're somebody who works for the media, please don't ask a female tech founder what it's like to be a woman in tech. Ask her about how she learned to program or how her company is changing the world. Don't ask a female finance executive what it's like to be a woman in finance. Ask her about her industry experience, her 5-year strategic outlook, or her view of the markets. For every interview a man gets, it's an opportunity to promote his business and himself and to grow. His time isn't muddled with questions about what it's like to be a man. So don't rob the women that you interview of a chance to show their competence and hard work. Give them the respect of real questions about their career or their business. If we published more stories about female executives and founders and their companies and less on women in fintech, we would see a monumental shift. It could normalize the existence of women in this field. Next, if you're a person who manages women, don't create any women in the workplace groups. They're a demeaning distraction and they're just unnecessary. To make a real impact, just pay them the same as you're paying the men, promote them when they deserve it, and give them bonuses when they excel. That's what should be normal in the workplace, and you can make it so. A recent survey rating leadership effectiveness revealed that women were rated as better leaders than their male counterparts. Additionally, A study by venture capital firm First Round Capital found that companies with a female founder performed 63% better than their investments with all-male founding teams. Needless to say, promoting women won't simply help with normalization, it may make you more money. To fully normalize women in leadership, you'll also need to update your definition of a good leader. We have been conditioned to associate typical male traits with strong leadership. Consider the following. If a woman is being quieter than a man at the board table, it's probably because she's listening. This is a strong and important trait of leadership, but it's often not categorized as such. Make a conscious effort to notice this. Simple efforts like these to normalize the existence and success of the women around us could have sweeping societal effects. This strategy holds the key to treating women less like a problem and more like a solution. I hope this perspective was helpful and that you learned something that you can put into effect at your own company. But I would still love to hear your thoughts and your questions, so drop them in the comments section, and thanks for listening.